Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. You know how some leaders just have that extra something that makes them so inspiring?
Yeah, I think Martin Luther King Jr. or even those Wright brothers, what was their secret?
Well, we're diving into Simon Sinek's
Yeah.
Start With Why to find out.
Oh, Sinek. Yeah. He doesn't just stop at motivational quotes though, right?
Right. This is the interesting part.
He goes deep into the biology of why we make decisions, the whole shebang. He even uses companies like Apple as examples.
Okay, so he keeps talking about this golden circle thing,
Right.
basically saying it's not just about what you're doing, but WHY and how you do it.
It's about more than just the what.
But like, how does that actually work in the real world?
So every company under the sun can tell you what they do.
Right. We sell shoes?
Exactly. We make apps, whatever it is. Some can even tell you how they do it differently or better.
We have a patented process.
Yeah, our secret sauce, blah, blah, blah.
But very few can actually tell you their WAY.
Exactly. And that's where the magic happens. That's the deep-seated purpose, the belief that really connects with people. Think about it. People don't just buy products or services, right?
Wow.
They're buying into what you believe in.
It's like that feeling you get when you see those old Apple ads, the Think Different ones.
Yeah.
They weren't showing off computers. They were showing Einstein Gandhi. It was about a mindset.
Sinek nailed that example, by the way. Apple's WHY is all about challenging the status quo, empowering individuals. It's everywhere in their design, their marketing, even how their stores look. They're not just selling you a phone, they're selling you a piece of that rebellion.
So you're not convincing me to buy a product? You're inspiring me to join a movement.
It's a different ball game entirely. Ever been in an electronics store completely overwhelmed by all the TVs?
Oh, yeah.
Your brain is trying to process all the specs, the 4K, this, the hertz, that. But then your friend who just gets you recommends one and you're like, okay, I'll take it.
Sold. Even if I don't get all the tech stuff.
Right, because it's not about the specs. Sinek says most decisions, especially the ones that stick, come from the limbic part of our brains. Emotions, gut feelings, not spreadsheets and numbers.
So are you saying that what the actual product becomes less important if we're buying into the WHY?
No, it becomes part of something bigger. Think about Southwest Airlines. They're known for cheap flights, right?
Right.
But their WHY, their big idea is democratizing the skies, making flying accessible to everyone.
Yeah, and you see that in everything they do right. Their whole vibe, their customer service. It feels genuine, not like some corporate marketing thing.
Exactly. Their WHY championing the common man. That's what inspires their employees, their customers, their success. They're not just selling cheap flights, they're selling you a piece of that belief.
It's like choosing between a fancy restaurant with a Michelin star chef and that little family-run place with heart.
Yeah.
Sometimes that feeling matters more.
And that feeling that trust you build on shared values, that's what creates real loyalty.
So how do we figure out our own WHY? Is this for companies or just for us as people?
Well, Sinek would say it's about looking back at your life, not necessarily forward.
Like reflecting?
Yeah, finding those moments where you were really alive, driven by something bigger than yourself.
So it's not about creating something new. It's about recognizing something that's already there.
Exactly. What motivates you, what gets you out of bed, and most importantly, why. Think back to when you were a kid.
Okay.
What were you just naturally drawn to? What got you excited, before life got complicated?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I guess it's about those things that truly resonated with us on a deeper level.
Exactly. Sinek uses this great story about Ernest Shackleton, the Antarctic explorer.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him.
So he's putting together this crazy, dangerous expedition, right? And he needs a crew, but he doesn't just want any crew.
Right.
His ad basically said, men wanted, hazardous journey, low wages, bitter cold. Can you imagine?
Wow. He wasn't messing around?
No, he wasn't. He was specifically looking for people driven by that same WHY. That thirst for adventure, even in the face of danger.
So he knew his WHY, and he was looking for people who aligned with that.
It all goes back to the WHY. And guess what? That shared WHY, that's what built trust and loyalty amongst his crew, even when things got really, really tough.
That's pretty amazing.
Mm.
Okay, so we figured out our WHY. Now, how do we make sure it's not just some catchy slogan? We actually have to live it right.
The Senate calls it clarity, discipline, and consistency. Basically, you have to walk the walk.
Yeah, made real.
Exactly. Every decision, every action needs to reflect that WHY. Think about Apple again for a sec.
Okay.
Their design, the sleek, minimalist products, their user-friendly interfaces, everything screams think different, right?
Right. It's like they're inviting you to see the world differently through their products.
Yes. That consistency, that's what builds trust over time. And to help with that, Sinek introduces this cool tool he calls the celery test.
The celery test. Okay, I've got to hear this one.
So imagine you're at the grocery store, right? You're committed to eating healthy,
Trying to be good.
and you see that double chocolate fudge cake calling your name.
I'm in trouble.
It's tempting, right? Instant gratification. But does it really align with your WHY of being healthy?
Probably not. The celery, on the other hand.
Exactly. Maybe not as exciting, but it's the choice that truly supports your goal.
So the celery test is about recognizing those chocolate cake decisions that might feel good in the moment, but ultimately sabotage our bigger goals.
It's about making choices that align with our values, even when it's tough. And look, nobody's perfect. We all grab the cake sometimes.
It happens to the best of us.
The key is awareness.
Right.
Recognize the choice for what it is, course correct, and move on.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what happens when a company loses sight of its WHY? Like they get big, successful, comfortable, maybe the founders move on.
Sinek calls this the split. The company growth starts chasing profits maybe, and
Yep.
that connection between the WHY and the what starts to fray.
So it's no longer genuine.
They lose their way. He uses the example of Walmart.
Oh, interesting. What happened with them?
Well, after Sam Walton, their founder, passed away, remember there were all those controversies about how they treated their employees?
Yeah, it seemed like they'd strayed from their original mission.
Exactly. Sinek argues that their WHY, which was all about serving people, both employees and customers, got lost in the shuffle. They lost their way.
And that impacted their image, their employees, even their bottom line, I'd bet.
It's a slippery slope. He contrasts this with a company like Costco.
Okay. How are they different?
Costco is famous for treating their employees well, right? And they're incredibly successful.
Yeah, they seem to be doing something right.
Because they've held on to their WHY. They understand that happy employees lead to happy customers, which leads to a stronger business. It's a win-win.
It's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. When everyone feels valued and connected to a shared purpose, everybody benefits.
And that's the power of the WHY. It's not just some feel-good concept. It's about creating a sustainable model for success, both personally and professionally.
So we've identified our WHY. We're living it. We're making the tough choices. Now what? How do we get others on board? How do we build that movement Sinek talks about? It's like teamwork makes the dream work.
Right. Totally. It's about finding those people who get it, who believe in what you believe in.
Who vibe with your vision.
Exactly. Sinek talks about building your megaphone, but it's not about just shouting your message at everyone.
Right. Nobody likes that.
It's about attracting the right people, the
Yeah.
ones who resonate with your WHY. They become your biggest fans.
Your hype squad.
Exactly. And they're not just going to parrot your words either. It have to be genuine. People can spot a fake a mile away.
It's like those brands that just feel authentic. You know?
Yes. Like they're not even trying to sell you anything. You just believe in what they're doing.
Because they believe it too. Right. It goes back to that Sinek quote. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it.
It's all connected.
If they connect with your WHY, they're not just customers, they're your people.
Your tribe. And that sense of belonging, that shared purpose, that's how you build a movement.
So how do you actually do that? Create a movement?
Well, look at the Wright brothers, for example.
Okay, the guys who invented airplanes.
Yeah. They weren't the only ones trying to build a flying machine back then.
I never thought about that.
Right. But they had something special, something that set them apart.
Their WHY.
Exactly. They weren't in it for the fame or the money. They were driven by a bigger vision.
They wanted to change the world.
They believed that if they could figure out how to fly, it would change everything.
And they were right.
And it was that passion, that unwavering belief that drew people to them. They weren't afraid to share their dream, to collaborate, to inspire.
So that's what made them great leaders.
It's a big part of it. It's not just about having the ideas. It's about bringing people along for the ride, inspiring them to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
So as we wrap things up here, what's the big takeaway? How can our listeners apply all this WHY stuff to their own lives?
Well, Sinek leaves us with this really thought-provoking question. What if, instead of competing against others, we focused on being better versions of ourselves?
That is something to think about.
Right. It's a call to action. It's about looking inward, figuring out our own WHY, and then having the courage to actually live it.
And it's not just about us either. It's about creating a world where we're all striving to be our best selves.
A world where we're not held back by competition, but lifted up by collaboration.
I like the sound of that. So listeners, that's something to chew on. What's your WHY? And how can you use it to make a difference?
It's a lifelong journey, for sure.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the power of WHY. We'll see you next time.